I am the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's household. After our kingdom fell, I fled with my family to seek refuge under the general's protection. During our escape, my illegitimate sister gave away our provisions to beggars by the roadside. Later, those beggars rose in rebellion and seized power. My sister was crowned empress, reigning as the nation's matriarch. Yet the beggar king valued beauty above all. My half-sister bore the queen's title in name only, repeatedly cast aside and murdered by his concubines. The child she bore had its limbs severed and was hung outside the city walls. As for me, the general cast me into the barracks. Day after day, I endured torment worse than death. Our fates intertwined, destined to end in death. When I opened my eyes again, I swiftly knocked the baked bun from my half-sister's hand and offered the delicate pastry to the beggar. Eat. If it's not enough, there's more here. I lifted my gaze and met my half-sister's eyes. The moment our eyes locked, I knew she too had been reborn. She didn't stop me, only hesitated slightly before withdrawing her gaze. I bowed slightly, stretching the pastry closer to Ji Ruan's hand. Eat. Ji Ruan, his legs broken, lay begging by the roadside. He struggled to raise himself, glanced at me and my half-sister, then suddenly grabbed my arm. Save me, please. It was just like the last life. In the past life, he had been like this too, like a dog, constantly whimpering for mercy, all for a sliver of chance to survive. Yet my half-sister, with her soft heart, halted her steps for him. In times of chaos, people are as worthless as grass. Who would want to carry a wounded man? After the fall of the Jiang kingdom, our family was torn apart, some died, others scattered. Our parents were killed by marauding soldiers. Now, with only a few maids and old servants left, how could we ever reach safety if we took him along? Yet my half-sister refused to listen, as if bewitched. I couldn't persuade her. So I resolved to seek refuge with the general first, reuniting with my sister only after securing stability. Little did I know that after our parting, my sister and I would never meet again. My half-sister followed Ji Ruan. From the uprising's start, she gathered countless talented individuals and patriots, eventually ascending to high office and being crowned empress. Meanwhile, Zhao Ling, who called himself the unconquered general, suffered defeat after defeat. He choked me by the throat more than once. Ji Ruan, a mere beggar, in what way could he ever compare to this general? In what way? Enough. She's nothing but a worthless woman, incapable of pleasing this general. Since that's the case, I'll just throw her to the soldiers. Through countless nights worse than death, I gritted my teeth and endured. Staying alive meant there was still a chance. On the day Zhaoling was cornered by Ji's forces, I, as a captive, was also thrown into the dungeon. I heard Ji Ruan had ascended the throne. The newly crowned empress was Lian Chao, my good-for-nothing younger sister. In my heart, I hoped she would save me. Yet I also prayed she wouldn't come. Ji Ruan had been hunted down, had fled for his life, and my sister had been cast aside by him more than once. He declared his half-sister was as plain as Wu Yan, unworthy of him. He seemed to forget who had reached out to save him when he lay dying, who had tended to him day and night until he recovered. The most outrageous act was when Ji Ruan kicked my 5-year-old nephew from the carriage, fleeing for his own life. Afterward, cradling his beauty, he dismissed it with a casual remark. She's just a wife from humble beginnings. What good is bearing a son? This prince has many sons, many wives. An ugly woman like her, let her die. Zhaoling and all his followers, including me, were sentenced to death by hanging. Before the execution, I saw my half-sister kowtowing before Ji Ruan. Blood stained the white jade steps outside the palace hall. Yet Ji Ruan remained unmoved. My foolish little sister. She was so clever, surviving time and again after being cast aside. Yet so foolish too, clinging to every sliver of hope despite knowing this game was lost. All to beg for my life. But Ji Ruan would never spare me, nor anyone he captured. After my death, my half-sister reigned as empress for only 18 days before being poisoned by Ji Ruan's favored concubine. My nephew was falsely branded a bastard, his limbs severed, then hung outside the city gates. And Ji Ruan, that faithless bastard, sat atop his throne, surrounded by his kingdom and its beauties. I stared at that filthy face, my fingers trembling beneath my sleeves. In my previous life, my half-sister was cast aside by Ji Ruan. She lived and ate alongside wounded soldiers in the barracks, persevering all the way to the capital where she honed her medical skills. As for Zhao Ling, he has always valued talent. I glanced at Ji Ruan and said to my half-sister, 150 li east of here lies Zhao Ling's camp. Before I come for you, live well. My half-sister said nothing, only clenched her fists. Who needs you to find me? She said. Then added one last sentence. Eldest sister, live your life well. Don't come looking for me later. I have my own ways to protect the old servants of the Prime Minister's mansion. With that, she and the household servants headed east. Ji Ruan murmured weakly once more. Save me, please. I bent down, gently cupping his face through the handkerchief. All right. Ji Ruan and I rested in the dilapidated temple. His leg injury caused a low-grade fever that lingered for 3 days. Sitting opposite him, I watched him endure the ordeal. Without any herbal medicine, his pallid complexion gradually regained its healthy flush. That he survived in such conditions further confirmed my suspicions. The outcome of my past life was no accident. He truly was the favored son of fortune. When he awoke, I brought him a bowl of water. After days of tending to him, the master finally regained consciousness. I wore plain cloth garments, my hair slightly disheveled, yet my face and arms remained clean. Ji Ruan froze abruptly. Stammering, he said, Thank you, young lady, for saving my life. He asked my name, and I replied, Lian Chao. That memory of the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's household, along with the name Jing Wan, had long perished in the torrent of my previous life. In this life, I sought only to settle the grudges between my sister and me. Ji Ruan owed my half-sister, so I took her name and made him repay every debt. The previous emperor had indulged in sensual pleasures and exploited the people. Since the fall of the Jiang kingdom, chaos had engulfed the land. Wars erupted across the realm. Natural disasters struck, and the autumn harvest was utterly destroyed. Bones froze stiff along the roads, people resorted to cannibalism. Zhao Ling, a general of the former dynasty, saw the chaos as his opportunity. Proclaiming himself king, he stationed his army in the east, allowing his men to pillage and burn with impunity. The land had long suffered under this tyranny. Ji Ruan and a group of capable individuals gathered their thoughts, then headed to Chuncheng, where discontent ran deepest. With a rallying cry, they raised their banners and rose in rebellion. Starting with only a few scattered thousand, they fought their way northward from the south, their numbers steadily swelling. That night, Ji Ruan took my hand. Lian Yang, he said, I want to test Zhao Ling. They say he's the undefeated general. If we could dent his pride, our morale would soar. Recalling the timeline of my past life, I merely smiled softly. All right. I tucked the mask into my sleeve, my smile so gentle it felt foreign even to me. Ji Ruan tucked a strand of my hair behind my ear. We will surely lead the people to a better life. I nestled into his embrace, silent. The outcome of our first battle was predetermined from the start. Since the uprising began, Ji Ruan had won every campaign. breeding extreme arrogance. He disregarded his disorganized troops and the dilapidated weapons of the Ji family army, fixated only on blunting Zhao Ling's edge. That night fell silent. Restless. I paced through the camp. As if sensing my thoughts, I spotted a furtive figure, rushing forward. I covered her mouth and led her into the tent. My half-sister's face lit up with a smile upon seeing me. Rest assured. The entire family of the Prime Minister's residence, the old, the weak, all live well now. But I cannot promise to shield them forever. With your medical skills, and Zhao Ling's appreciation for talent, you can protect your attendants for now. As for Ji Ruan, he adores beauties, and I have my own path to walk. Our destinies intertwining, perhaps this is the best outcome. I gently embraced my younger sister. Wait for me. I'll come for you. With that, I kicked over the candle. The military camp descended into chaos, and my younger sister slipped away successfully. The sky was ablaze with firelight, piercing the night. Upon hearing I was inside the tent, Ji Ruan charged in without hesitation. By then, the wooden frame of the tent was scorched and teetering, hidden in the shadows. I watched coldly as the flames grew fiercer, the frame crackling and groaning. Ji Ruan continued searching blindly. As the structure collapsed, I shoved him aside. Watch out! A heavy blow struck my shoulder as he caught me in his arms. Quick! The medic! Get the medic! He cried frantically. In that moment, I knew his feelings for me had deepened. Ji Ruan's defeat in this battle came swiftly. His eagerness for victory, coupled with a rabble of untrained men, could never stand against a disciplined army. Half of Ji's forces were killed or wounded. He buried his head in his hands, consumed by regret. It's my fault. All my fault. Conflicts erupted with two other allies, and Ji's army began to fracture, watching all his efforts crumble to nothing. As they passed through Shu territory, he saw someone kneeling by the roadside, selling themselves to bury their mother. Ji Ruan was in low spirits. Yet when I saw that man, I couldn't move. I stood frozen, a buzzing in my ears, until only one name remained. Zhang Wenxi. In my previous life, ever since Zhang Wenxi joined Ji Ruan, the Ji army never tasted defeat again. He guided Ji Ruan, expanding his power, winning the people's hearts, and step by step, becoming the new ruler of the nation. All praised Ji Ruan for his discernment in choosing talent. All praised Zhang Wenxi as a living zhuge liang. Yet who could have known that 3 months after Ji Ruan secured the throne, a secret edict arrived at Zhang's residence. Ji Ruan, ever suspicious, sensed Zhang Wenxi's growing popularity threatening to overshadow his own. To secure his imperial seat, a flask of poisoned wine sent his strategist of over a decade to his grave. To the outside world, it was announced that Master Zhang had died suddenly from exhaustion while serving the nation. Ji Ruan shed 2 crocodile tears. Privately, he reveled in feasting and dancing with his concubines. For years, this land teetered on the brink of collapse. The Jiang kingdom fell. A new ruler ascended. Yet it felt as if the old regime still lingered. Lost in thought, a ragged little girl approached and grabbed my hand. Sister, I'm so hungry. Please give me something to eat. Her timid voice trembled, her entire frame frail and tiny. I was about to speak. The next instant, a blade rose, splattering blood across my arm. Ji Ruan sheathed his sword and draped an outer robe over me. What filthy creature dares approach the lady? Beware, I'll chop off your head. The severed hand lay on the earth, its crimson staining the gray-yellow soil. A chill spread through my entire body. Before long, a beggar picked up the severed hand. The girl curled up on the ground, her gaze fixed in one direction. She reached out for help while wailing in agony. A couple in the distance, their faces frozen in terror, shielded their son behind them and fled. The girl sobbed twice, then fell silent, staring hopelessly at the sky. She passed out from the pain. Ji Ruan soothed me from beside me. My stomach churned with nausea. I forced a smile. I'm fine. Dark clouds gathered overhead, and soon countless raindrops pelted down. The winter rain carried a chill, and people on the street gradually dispersed, leaving only Zhang Wenxi behind. I walked over, umbrella in hand, tilting it toward him. Sir, for your mother's burial, how much silver might be needed? He stood rigid, unmoving, before opening his eyes after a moment. You are not the ones I await. Ji Ruan grew impatient. The world is full of wretched souls. How can we aid them all? Our army needs rest. He urged me to leave. I patted his hand reassuringly, then walked straight to Zhang Wenxi's side and lifted the straw mat beside him. Thunder roared. There was no corpse beneath, only tangled weeds. I said, in times of chaos, strategists emerge from seclusion, seeking men of ambition to aid in restoring order. Sir, the dynasty is in peril. The people need you. The Ji army needs you too. In the end, Zhang Wenxi was bound by Ji Ruan and forcibly placed in the camp tent. Ji Ruan didn't understand the rumors and whispers. But Zhang Wenxi was no ordinary man. He had to keep him close. In my previous life, I never witnessed how Zhang Wenxi, after many twists and turns, ultimately chose Ji Ruan, nor whether any remnants of his concubine sister remained. But now, I must grasp this card firmly in my hand. After 2 months of marching, the army settled. By Ji Ruan's side, I coaxed him with soft words, securing the role of envoy to persuade Zhang Wenxi to return. Occasional breezes slipped through the tent's cracks, making the candle flame flicker. 2 guards yawned intermittently. I said, Sir, are you using the opportunity of selling yourself to bury your mother to seek a worthy man? Do you wish to save this turbulent dynasty? Zhang Wenxi, bound to the torture rack, remained silent. I continued. I am but a humble woman, naturally unversed in the grand schemes of the world. Yet I understand this truth: when disease has penetrated to the bone marrow, one must scrape away the bone to remove the poison. At the very least, one must fight poison with poison and root out these vermin. The people of the realm also need a direction. Stability and peace. First secure stability, then achieve peace. Heeding Ji Ruan's counsel might well be a wise choice. He remained unmoved. A single word from outside the tent, sister, pulled his thoughts back to the present. The little girl's wounds had scabbed over, and she looked much plumper than when I first met her. Burying her face in my chest, she whimpered. I asked her, Yaoer, do you miss your family? She paused, shook her head, and shrank behind me. That empty sleeve fluttered back and forth, painfully conspicuous. 7 days later, Zhang Wenxi relented. With Zhang Wenxi at its helm, the Ji family army grew stronger by the day. Yaoer chattered incessantly by my side, recounting how she'd traveled far with her parents, how she'd begged for food, how she'd run away after being beaten, and how she'd pleaded for sustenance when encountering kind souls. She also mentioned that when her little sister was adopted, it was the first time Mother had ever smiled. The kind family who took her and gave a lot of money, it was the first time the whole family had eaten meat. Mother cried while eating, watching her. Oh dear. Once the piglet grows big enough to be loved, no one wants to trade it anymore. Sigh. Finally, Yaoer wiped the tears from her eyes and sobbed. If I'd been smaller, grown slower, could I have been traded for money too? Would Mother and my little brother have been happier? Would Mother not be so sad? I said nothing. But during meals, I piled her rice higher and higher, letting her eat without worry. She never helped herself to more, she ate only what was given. When she first arrived, she even went hungry because of this. Come spring, Ji Ruan walked beside me, his arms wrapped around a woman. Lian Yang. This is Qin Yu. You two must get along well from now on. The woman practically clung to Ji Ruan. Her voice was soft and delicate, murmuring low enough for only me to hear. I'm a girl from a respectable family. I met Ji Ruan before the rebel forces arrived. When the Jiang kingdom fell, my sister was in Chengdu. I heard she fled for 3 months, enduring the chaos and facing countless dangers. I've heard those rebels spare no woman, burning, killing, plundering, committing every evil. With your beauty, sister. Whatever happened before, it's all right as long as you're safe now. She kept chattering on. Whether I was still pure or not, I no longer cared. In these chaotic times, staying alive and seeing those I wished to see was what truly mattered. Not even the days of torment in my previous life could extinguish my will to survive. Much less Qin Yu's few, harmless words. Yet observing Qin Yu, I found her amusing. She truly was a rare beauty, graceful in form. Skin like jade, delicate as a blossom, but utterly foolish. Recalling how Ji Ruan had, in my previous life, driven her half-sister to ruin step by step for Qin Yu's sake, my smile deepened. I drew the hairpin from my hair, a gift for my sister upon our meeting. She immediately flushed with coy embarrassment. How could I possibly accept this? Her hand reached out to take it. I seized the moment, pulling her into my embrace as I swung the hairpin downward. Blood trickled along the pin's engraved patterns, dripping onto the floor. Qin Yu screamed, "My face! My face! General! My face!" My strike was brutal, the wound cutting to bone, utterly beyond healing. What are you? Ji Ruan and I are true partners through thick and thin. Our bond. My honor, do you think a few words could shatter it? Qin Yu screamed in collapse, lunging forward to grapple with me. Ji Ruan shoved her to the ground. Lian Yang, are you angry? His eyes sparkled, as if I truly were his one true love. The tender haven I spent months crafting, the multiple times I saved his life. Yet I kept him at arm's length, denying him satisfaction. His heart, from the moment we first met, was gradually ensnared by my schemes. To Ji Ruan, the weight of Qin Yu versus me was self-evident. I scolded angrily. Of course I'd be furious if my husband sought another woman. For 5 years, Ji Ruan and Zhaoling remained locked in a stalemate. Yet my younger sister had risen to the position of military strategist. Zhaoling's few minor victories over Ji Ruan during that time were surely her handiwork. But with Zhang Wenxi commanding Ji Ruan's forces, they soon crushed Zhaoling's advance, forcing him back 30 li to retreat to the secluded county of Rushen. The two armies remained deadlocked. I watched the beacon fires beyond the city walls and the occasional passing villagers. The biting cold piercing my skin. In my previous life, I too had stood upon these ramparts. But then, it was Zhao Ling who had threatened me with the lives of the entire Prime Minister's household, forcing me onto the tower to lure the enemy. Now, he and I have no connection left. Ji Ruan unfastened his cloak and draped it over me, rubbing his palms together to warm his hands before placing them in mine. I exhaled a puff of warm breath and said, Ji Ruan, we have a child. Ji Ruan's eyes lit up, his hands trembling with excitement. Standing on the ramparts, I smiled, a rare occurrence. Over these 5 years, I wasn't the only one in Ji Ruan's life. Grateful for saving his life twice, he treated me differently from others. He took dozens of concubines, each with her own charm, yet none bore him a child. When welcoming his first consort, he promised me, to you, my lady, I owe not only a bond of life and death, but also the debt of rebirth. Your discerning eye, my lady, is what guided me back to my senses. Even if countless new women enter my life, I shall never allow another to bear my firstborn son. Little did I know his words would prove prophetic. His jest proved true, not a single concubine conceived. I stroked my flat belly, gazing into the distance. Guards at the gate clashed with several villagers. Reborn County was celebrating the new year. Yet they seized the people's winter provisions, making already hard lives even harder. Many had come to Reborn's territory seeking refuge, but they were blocked by the guards. Where did these rebels come from? Who knows if they're spies? Get out! Get out! I wanted to go ask, but seeing the infant in the refugee's arms, my chest tightened suddenly. The old man wore straw sandals and a coat stitched from reed flowers. His fingers trembling. In his arms, he clutched a child stiff with cold. He pleaded, word by word, "Sir, spare us a way to live. Sir, my child suffers." The old man spotted Reborn and me, about to rush over to beg for mercy, when a soldier broke his legs. He cradled the lifeless child, raising it high. "General, Madam, have mercy. Can I trade my old man's life for my child's? Have mercy. Give the child a sip of warm soup." Reborn pulled me away. "It's all filthy business. Don't watch." I stubbornly shook off Reborn and slapped the guard across the face. "If it were your father begging for mercy and getting beaten, how would you feel?" The guard's face flushed alternately crimson and ashen, stammering speechless. Seeing my fury, Reborn finally had someone tend to the peasant. For some reason, watching that peasant pleading and coaxing his child, I thought of my half-sister from my past life. She too had pleaded with the impossible, begging for my survival. No one reached out to help her. No one told her what to do, how to act. Too many have perished these years. The famine 2 years ago claimed countless lives. Then came the war, taking another wave. Now a cold snap descends. I've asked Zhang Wenxi more than once. The timing is ripe, why not seize Reborn now? When will the realm find peace? Zhang Wenxi replied. Reborn seeks a foolproof strategy, exhaust Zhao Ling's provisions before launching a decisive assault. The fighting would likely not cease anytime soon. After the cold wave passed, spring would come again. Year after year, the prolonged stalemate dragged on. The two armies locked in confrontation. In times of prosperity, the people suffer. In times of collapse, the people suffer. When father was alive, I was still the cherished legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's household. I disciplined my troublesome younger sisters while assisting father in handling state affairs. With no male heirs in the household and my younger sisters unfit for governance, I alone inherited all my father's legacy. He was Jiang Kingdom's most distinguished statesman in 2 centuries. Yet the emperor remained obtuse. Obsessed with pleasure and exploiting the people, he raised taxes relentlessly during famine years. The people suffered, and my father's hair turned white with worry. His repeated petitions angered the emperor, who stripped him of his office. When rebel forces stormed the city, father ordered me to protect my younger sister. He declared he had governed Jiang for 30 years and would now accompany the nation to its end. Mother refused to leave, choosing to stay with father. After the rebels departed, I fled with my sister and the few remaining servants, embarking on a 3-month exile. Memories of my past life flooded back. I sighed, squeezing Zhang Wenxi's palm. It's time to end this. That night, after a violent upheaval, I was abducted. Gazing at the pitch-black sky, I murmured, "Zhao Ling, you must wait for me." I was escorted to Reborn County. As the red cloth covering the prison cage was lifted, the figure who had haunted my countless nights sat at the center of the grand tent. He twirled a wine cup, his expression carefree. His cold, sharp eyes appraised me as if I were an object. To him, My past self had been worth less than an object. When I was brought in, I was dressed in a dancer's red gown and offered as a gift to Xiaoling. Suppressing the hatred in my heart, I shifted my feet. I danced within the cage. Those around me either mocked or marveled. But one person stood frozen in place. My younger half-sister's lips twitched. My elder sister. I danced numbly. Such acts of pleasing others were common in my past life. Yet doing them now felt like stepping into another world. In my previous existence, I believed I had made a good choice. I never wished to serve others with my beauty. But it seems, I had nothing else these powerful men could covet. What they desired, what they delighted in, seemed to be only my face. In times of chaos, provisions are resources. Able-bodied men are resources. Women are no different. Even boys with fair features were violated by those beasts. After Zhao Ling used me, he discarded me to the soldiers, who abused me without restraint. Now, reborn into this new life, things have changed after all these twists and turns. There's an essential difference between a beauty offered on a platter and a beauty belonging to one's sworn enemy. People always compare, especially someone as fiercely competitive as Zhao Ling. The world says he falls short of Ji Ruan. They call him arrogant, driven by an overwhelming desire to win. Ji Ruan, however, is a savior with the world in his heart, always considering the people. Sure enough, he drained his cup, swung his sword to cleave the prison bars, and drew me into his embrace. So you are the darling Ji Ruan holds dear? Truly a national beauty. What a waste! Following that beggar. With that, he leaned in to take me. He paid no heed to the dozens of colleagues present. Just like their public display of passion in the previous life, he never granted anyone an ounce of dignity. My half-sister gripped her cup tightly. I pressed my toes against General Zhaoling's waist and smiled softly. General, you truly are different from General Ji. He never humiliates his concubines, he treats everyone this way. No wonder when he calls to arms, countless young men willingly rally to his banner. Zhaoling cared most about Ji Ruan, most about comparing himself to others. Hearing this, he lifted me up. His teeth gritted. This general will show you what true tenderness truly is. I was assigned to reside in Zhaoling's side hall. At my younger sister's suggestion, Zhaoling assigned a maid to attend to my daily needs. The young girl burst into tears the moment she saw me. Miss. I pressed my fingertip to her lips. Shoo. The former chancellor's family lies in ruins. Those who survive should not dwell on past grievances. Survival itself is the greatest blessing. I also met the matron from the chancellor's residence, Xiaodao's mother. The wet nurse who had cared for me so tenderly since childhood. They were both still alive. In my previous life, I had failed to protect them despite my entire existence, and had even caused Xiao Tao and Aunt Lu to die unjustly. My half-sister, with her exceptional skills, had safeguarded them both. My eyes stung with tears. My younger sister stared at me. You shouldn't have come. She's now a military strategist, capable of analyzing the nation's situation. Trusted by Emperor Zhaoling, she remains stubborn as ever in her speech. I pinched her cheek. Destinies intertwine, embracing death to find life. Sister, to turn the tide, I must enter the game myself. I refuse to let my younger sister meet the same fate as before. Whether it's Emperor Zhaoling or Ji Ruan. This life, I crave more than mere survival. Outside, snow swirled wildly, a harbinger of bountiful harvests. Yet the people were exploited, crushed under crushing taxes. Who knew how many would freeze to death this year? My half-sister said. Eldest sister, these two are locked in a deadly feud. You shouldn't get entangled in this calamity. Ji Ruan will become king, just as he did in the past life. And you will be the one and only empress of this realm. Sister, with your peerless beauty, You will never meet the same fate as I did in my past life. I simply held my younger sister close. I will not allow my own sister to be branded a rebel. What I desire is far more than merely saving myself. Buried in my embrace. Her shoulders trembled slightly. Her face was streaked with tears like a cat's. Sister, you shouldn't have come. You shouldn't have come. She had heard fragments of my past life's ordeal. After we sought refuge, Emperor Zhaoling initially spared me a glance. But soon, I became utterly uninteresting to him. He delighted in tormenting women, finding greater pleasure in watching them suffer worse than death. Without a doubt, I became one of his targets. Days of torture left me unrecognizable. For me, Rishan County was nothing short of a living hell. Seeing the pain in my younger sister's eyes, I gently took her hand and placed it on my lower abdomen. Sister, I'm pregnant. Guess whose child it is, Zhaoling's or Ji Ruan's? Regardless of the father, this is my child. It is our anchor in this chaotic world. My younger sister's eyes widened. I softened my voice. Ji Ruan will never have children again in this lifetime. He will surely come looking for me. I never doubted his sincerity. But sincerity can shift in an instant. Perhaps Ji Ruan once held some genuine feelings for me. But after 5 years, how much of that remains? I don't believe he would raise an army to attack Rishan for me, or abandon his carefully laid plans and schemes for my sake. Those in power lack nothing more than women. What they truly care about is their own bloodline. After my capture, I heard Ji Ruan had taken several more beautiful concubines. When I was present, he could promise me his heart. When I was gone, he could choose others. But no matter how many choices he has, children, he will only have one. At the Ji family camp, Ji Ruan slammed the memorials from his desk onto the ground. You lied to me? How could this be? How could I be unable to bear children? You incompetent doctor. You deceived me. You must have deceived me. The military physician was dragged out and beaten to death. After that, Ji Ruan summoned several more beauties. His temper grew increasingly volatile. It's all false. All false. I have no child yet. How could it be? How could it be? Zhang Wenxi watched the enraged Ji Ruan, opening his mouth but saying nothing. After repeated confirmations, Ji Ruan gradually accepted the truth, his entire being sinking into despondency. He asked Zhang Wenxi listlessly, "When can the army march?" Lady Lian accompanied this general from nothingness to now commanding half the realm. She was abducted while carrying our child. I cannot sleep or eat in peace. I counted the days in my tent. The slow-acting drug had been in his tea for years. Once the supply stopped, signs would appear. By now, Ji Ruan should have noticed the changes in his body. Another month passed, and my belly began to swell slightly. I told General Zhao, "General, I'm pregnant." He laughed boisterously, picked me up, and spun me around. Ji Ruan's woman, carrying my child, ha 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 ha. This general's child. Who says this general is inferior to Ji Ruan? Perhaps because I once followed Ji Ruan. Or perhaps he hadn't met a woman worthy of his eye in all these years. Or perhaps it was mere novelty. He suddenly took on a youthful air and began treating me well. In my past life, when I threw myself at him, he looked down on me. Now he eagerly shifts his stance. He merely seeks to prove he's better than Ji Ruan, thus treating me even better. Nothing but insincere affection. I played along while counting down the days. Finally, one night, the long, mournful blast of Ji Ruan's army bugle echoed. I knew Ji Ruan had arrived. He came, not for me, only for his child. Human nature is self-serving. Those in power are especially so. Especially someone like Ji Ruan, who constantly weighs the pros and cons. In my past life, He deliberately starved Zhao Ling to death, leaving the people of both lands suffering. This time, for the sake of his own child, he was even willing to advance his campaign. The Ji family army had grown stronger over the years, with powerful troops and horses. Within half a month, they breached the city gates. Ruxian County descended into chaos. Zhao Ling sought me out. "Lian Yang, come with me. If Ji Yuan pursues us, he won't spare you nor our child." I squeezed out 2 tears. "General, staying by your side only burdens you. Go alone. If death is truly inevitable, it is Lian Yang's fate, no one else to blame. In my past life, Zhao Ling, powerful as he was, naturally looked down on me for throwing myself at him. But a hero in his twilight years couldn't help but be moved by the beauty who stood by him through hardship." He glanced at me, inner conflict raging. But before his struggle could resolve, my half-sister flicked her hand through the air, and Zhao Ling collapsed unconscious. The thing I entrusted to my half-sister back then had finally served its purpose. My half-sister handed me the sharpened blade. "Sister, when 2 enemies fight, a third gains the advantage. This man will serve a greater purpose later. I know your hatred for him. Grasp this blade, but avoid his heart and the vital points 3 inches below his ribs. Spare his life. One day, I will bring him back." I raised the blade, and memories of my past life flooded my mind. Public displays of intimacy. Multiple men entering my bed each day. Life was worse than death. Countless days haunted by nightmares. I let out a scream and slashed at Zhao Ling several times. Before Ji Yuan burst through the door, I managed to hide my younger sister and Zhao Ling. When Ji Yuan arrived, my face was covered in wounds. The moment I saw him, I threw myself at him. "Husband, I've missed you so much." Had mother not disfigured herself, I doubt I'd have escaped unscathed. My tears fell like rain on pear blossoms. Ji Yuan was heartbroken, fumbling to comfort me. Recalling Zhao Ling, he spat in disgust. "He escaped again. Damn him," I said. "The realm is in your grasp, my lord. Even if Zhao Ling harbors resentment, he cannot rise again. He poses no threat." Only then did he relax. His broad palm gently caressed my belly. From the very beginning, his sole concern had been the child. Ji Yuan changed the dynasty's name to Lian, honoring me by naming it after my given name. The world praised his devotion to me, never forgetting his wife from humble beginnings. But I knew he never truly valued me. Only my womb. His vitality had been sapped by slow-acting poison, making other children impossible. This pregnancy became his sole hope and anchor, which is why he cherished it so deeply. The construction of the imperial harem was also put on the agenda. Upon ascending the throne, Ji Yuan readily accepted Zhang Wenxi's governance plans. He eased taxes and levies, aiming to restore the people's vitality. The common folk praised him and Zhang Wenxi endlessly. I wondered how my younger sister was faring. Days passed, and on the day of delivery, Ji Yuan beamed with joy. I turned my head away, closing my eyes to rest. Ji Yuan stood by the bedside, wiping the sweat from my forehead. "Mother has worked so hard." I said nothing. Outside, the pear blossoms were in full bloom. Zhang Wenxi waited there, ready to report state affairs to Ji Yuan. Occasionally, 2 petals would fall onto his shoulder. My younger sister and I exchanged messages. She also had rumors spread outside the palace to further fuel Zhao Ling's jealousy. Word spread everywhere outside the palace that my child had bloodline issues. Zhao Ling deceived himself, believing his affection for me ran deep. Everything had to be compared to Ji Yuan. He surely couldn't bear to see me in danger. Couldn't bear his own child calling someone else father emperor. He will come. In the days that followed, I dismissed the palace attendants early one morning, only to find myself in dispute with Zhang Wenxi. He did not approve of my actions. With the realm newly stabilized and the people's hearts aligned with Ji Ruan, any mishap now would surely plunge us into chaos once more. All one. You cannot destroy the foundations the Ji family army has built over the years for your own selfish reasons. I remained silent as Yaoer opened the door. She held a tray of almond pastries. Sister, the kitchen made your favorite sweets. Try some. Yaoer trotted over, her empty sleeve fluttering. Though she was 10 now, she still hid behind me whenever she saw Ji Ruan. I ruffled her hair. Does Yaoer like our current emperor? She hesitated, shaking her head vigorously like a rattle. When sister was captured that time, he never intended to save her. He even gathered many beauties. Later, for some reason, he flew into a terrible rage before finally rescuing sister home. I hate him. He cut my hand without any regard for right or wrong. The little girl's thoughts were pure and clear. I told her not to speak recklessly before sending her off to play. Sir, you know full well whose child Yaoer is. If you refuse to help me, when disaster strikes from within the palace walls, given Ji Ruan's nature, both you and I will meet the same fate, death. Yaoer would be no exception. Ji Ruan is a hypocrite, not a good man. If this continues, he may well become the next worm eating away at the foundation. While there's still time, don't let momentary kindness lead to a grave mistake. Zhang Wenxi hesitated, pear blossoms falling thickly upon her shoulders. I chuckled softly. Besides, with you here, what great power could a mere woman like me possibly wield to undermine the very foundations of the realm? I returned alone to the palace to see the child. Little Peach fanned herself with a palm leaf fan, her movements slow and irregular. Ji Ruan appeared beside me without warning, exchanging pleasantries. A figure stirred in the distance. I slipped silently behind Ji Ruan, adjusting his sash. Moments later, a man clad in eunuch robes lunged forward. His eyes blazed crimson as he plunged a sword into Ji Ruan's body. Why must all the world's beauty be yours? The throne is yours. Even mother is yours. Why? I am no less than you in any way. Why? Zhao Ling, disguised as a eunuch, had come to assassinate Ji Ruan. My half-sister glanced up at me before retreating, distancing herself completely. When Ji Ruan attacked Rishian County, my half-sister and I refrained from killing Zhao Ling, all for this day. Ji Ruan paled in shock. He'd always commanded from the rear, scarcely ever stepping onto the battlefield. He was no match for Zhao Ling. He bellowed, "Guards! Protect the emperor! Protect the emperor!" The palace attendants of the Jiaofeng Hall had long been dismissed by me. He shouted for a long time, but no one answered. After only a few exchanges, Ji Ruan was pierced through the left shoulder by a sword. Zhao Ling reached out to me, his voice trembling slightly. "Lian Yang, will you come with me? I'll rally my old forces to overthrow Ji Ruan's rule. You'll be with me, with our child. Will you?" Ji Ruan hadn't yet breathed his last. Hearing the words, he clutched my hand with deathly grip. "What? Child?" At that moment, Zhang Wenxi burst in with his men. Zhao Ling was pinned to the ground. I quietly drew the dagger from my waist, concealed by my wide sleeves, and began to slowly slit Ji Ruan's throat. Blood stained the white marble steps beneath us. Just like the day my half-sister pleaded for me, my face contorted with terror. "Assassins have struck the emperor. Quick! Save his majesty! Your majesty! Are you all right? Why aren't you speaking? Wake up!" I cried until my voice cracked. "Summon the imperial physician! Summon the imperial physician!" His subordinate exerted pressure while whispering into Ji Ruan's ear, enunciating each word. "Child? You speak of the child between this palace and Zhang Wenxi? Your majesty, this matter requires no further concern from you. Your empire, your throne, this palace and Wensi will safeguard them. We shall hold them securely. No need for your concern. Blood bubbles formed at Ji Ruan's mouth. His face twisted with unwillingness as he gasped. I tightened my grip. Oh. And in the future, when Wensi assists Yuer, this palace will ensure Yuer expresses gratitude. He shall take the Zhang surname. From then on, Yuer will know only her teacher, not Ji Ruan. Not a single word of yours will ever reach the palace. Pfft. Ji Ruan coughed up a mouthful of blood. He tried to flee, writhing pitifully on the ground. I pressed my hand over the wound, my voice light as a feather. Your Majesty, when you discovered you could not bear children, were you not in agony? I wept before the assembly, yet whispered a low laugh in his ear. Did you find solace in your own offspring whenever you recalled me? Feeling fortunate? Ji Ruan froze. His gaze fixed on me as his eyes began to glaze over. His feet thumped the ground twice with final force before he died with eyes wide open. He never lived to see the imperial physician arrive. After entrusting Qinyu to my younger sister's care, I went to see Zhao Ling. Imprisoned in the death cell, he remained utterly convinced that Yuer was his child. Even after his tongue was torn out and his limbs severed. Every time he looked at me, his gaze was still filled with profound affection. When Yuer turned 8, I took him to see Zhao Ling. A muffled, whimpering sound escaped his lips. In my past life, he had been like this too, like a dog. Constantly whimpering for mercy. Whimper, whimper, whimper. I asked Yuer, do you know who this person is? Yuer pondered earnestly. Mother. He exploited the people and allowed the army to pillage and burn. He was a traitor to the previous dynasty. A villain. A great villain. The most despicable and shameless person under heaven. Xiaoling's fingers twitched slightly, tears already welling in his eyes. I continued. Tell him who you are. Yuer's expression hardened. I am Zhang Yu, the son of mother, the student of Chancellor Zhang, and the youngest emperor to ascend the throne in history. That day passed. Not long after, it was said that Zhao Ling went mad. He would only laugh foolishly. Within half a month, he died in prison. The end.